I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education for Wilmette Public Schools District 39 this Monday, February 27th, 2023. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Amy Paling.
Here.
John Cesarretti.
Here.
Ann Hart.
Here.
Bonnie Kim.
Here.
Frank Panzica.
Here.
Lisa Schneider-Fabes.
Here.
Aaron Stone.
Here.
Principal Becky Littman is here to introduce Central students to lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, on behalf of Central students and staff, it's certainly an honor to be here this evening. I thought it might be fun for you to get a glimpse inside our classrooms so you can see what our students are learning. So I invited a couple of teachers. I have Miss Kate O'Brien and Miss Caitlin Shula and some second grade students here to talk to you about what they've been learning and some projects they've been working on during the month of February.
Good evening, I'm Kate O'Brien, and it's an honor to be here with Juliana Johnson from my class and her brother William Johnson from Mrs. Engstrom's class. And they will highlight some of the various activities for February.
Hi, my name is Juliana Johnson. Second graders made Valentines for veterans with our buddies, and we think they love them. Central School has been doing this for many years.
Hi, my name is Haley Maynard Johnson. We have been learning about important people in Black history. Barack Obama was the first African American president of the U.S. He is also a lawyer, author, and Nobel Prize winner.
Hi, good evening, Caitlin Shula. I have 5 students with me this evening, and we've been working really hard on reading nonfiction text, and we learned all about polar bears, so we have some important information to share with you.
Hi, my name is Elin. We learned about the polar bear's diet, habitat, and body.
Hi, my name is Darwin. We answered true or false questions about polar bears. Did you know polar bears stay in their den all winter long?
Hi, my name is Sally. Polar bear's habitat is in danger because of global warming. You can help by turning off your air conditioning in the summer and opening a window.
Hi, my name's Ellis. We learned about the polar bear's body.
Hi, my name is Josie. We learned many new vocabulary words. Tundra means a large treeless area of land in the northern parts of our world. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for being here. It's so helpful for us to learn about what you're doing in your classrooms. And you all did a phenomenal job presenting to us and telling us that important information. We're so grateful, and we are so happy that you're here. We have a little thank you for you. So I'm going to meet you over by this door on your way out, and then you can meet your families in the lobby. But on behalf of all of us, thank you for all the hard work you're doing and for sharing it with us. I appreciate what you do. Thank you both so much. Great. Perfect. So I'd love to direct your attention to the artwork behind me. The artwork on display this month features Miss Berngard's Central students. It's all about Central this evening. First graders experimented with materials, concepts, media, and creative approaches to their snowman unit. You'll notice the snowman's favorite color scheme on the painted backgrounds are cool colors. Third graders created Keith Haring-inspired snowmen. Students compared and contrasted Keith Haring's artwork with Wayne Thibault's artwork and painted donut artist portfolios. They displayed their impeccable craftsmanship with the small pieces and figurines attached. Fourth graders exhibited a project inspired by the book Over and Under the Snow by Kate Messner. Students drew various woodland animals and created homes for them in a snowy winter landscape. So hopefully you can take a look at this artwork. I will turn it to Dr. Cremascoli for some student recognition.
Thank you. We have so many exceptional students here in District 39 that we are eager to recognize this evening. I would like to invite our students who are being recognized for their outstanding achievements in math and spelling to please come forward as I read a little announcement about your achievements too. Please come forward if you wouldn't mind. Tonight, I'm pleased to recognize 7 District 39 students who have distinguished themselves with their outstanding achievements in math and in spelling. Come on up here. Thank you. Oh, excellent, excellent, excellent. Joining us tonight are 4 mathletes who have advanced to the State Math Counts competition, which will be held on March 4th. From Highcrest, we have Sophie, and from WJHS, we have Renee, Larry, and another Sophie. Congratulations. And a 5th D39 athlete, Erin, also advanced, but is unable to be with us tonight. Let's give them a big round of applause. This is quite an accomplishment. Additionally, we also have with us our spelling bee champion, Inez, and runner-up, Juniper. Inez moves on and will compete at the North Cook ISC Scripps Spelling Bee competition on March 15th. Congratulations to both Inez and Juniper. Congratulations to all of our outstanding students. We have a certificate of excellence to distribute to you, as well as some gifts for you all as well. Congratulations, parents and students, for all your hard work. We're really, really proud of your accomplishments. Congratulations. Come on up here, students. We'd love to recognize you. I have Inez and Jennifer. Okay, there you go, Inez. I have Erin is not here. Renee. Larry, congratulations. Sophie, congratulations. And I think I have one more. Sophie Zhang. Oh, congratulations. And Inez, do I have another math counseling for you too? I think I do. Here you go. Congratulations. Thank you all for all of your hard work. I think Mr. Krause is going to get a picture of all of you together. Yep, I'll take it. Okay, perfect. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, I seek a motion to approve the minutes of the January 23rd, 2023 Board of Education regular and executive session meetings.
I move to approve the minutes of the January 23rd, 2023 Board of Education regular and executive session meetings.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Board members, are there any comments, errors, or omissions to the minutes? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, please indicate by saying yay.
Yay.
All right, motion carries. This is a time for public comments. Are there any community members present who wish to speak?
There's so many, just a
I
minute.
know. They all cleared the area. We will move to board reports then, starting with our committees. We did not have facility development discussion this month, so we'll start with school finance. Mr. Cesaretti.
All right, thank you, President Paling. So at our Committee of the Whole meeting on the 13th, we had two major discussions. First we talked about the 2023 bond issuance. Mr. Boltmeyer introduced Elizabeth Hennessy of Raymond James to review the financial plan to sell working cash fund bonds to fund summer construction projects. The resolution to issue $11,250,000 of working cash fund bonds for the purpose of increasing the district's working cash fund to cover construction costs for air conditioning renovations at 4 schools was approved in January. Ms. Hennessy provided current AAA municipal market data index and treasury rates. She noted the federal government has raised interest rates 7 times thus far to combat inflation. Members reviewed the working cash bond issuance for 10.5 and 12.5 year payback options. The recommendation was to issue bonds in March as opposed to June due to interest rate risks. Discussion ensued regarding the vulnerability of the market. Members weighed the 2 options. Mr. Boltmeyer stated the board has the opportunity to pass the parameters of the resolution to sell the working cash bonds at the February 27 Board of Education meeting tonight. The sale of the bonds would take place following approval in order to receive the proceeds in March for reinvestment. Mr. Boltmeyer presented the 5-year projections for review. He noted there is flexibility to have the proceeds on hand for operational, construction, or educational use. A majority of the members agreed to the 12.5 year option to be presented for approval at tonight's board meeting. The other matter we discussed was the KEEP 39 financial. Mr. Boltmeyer presented the KEEP 39 historical information. In order to house the enrichment program, building additions and renovations were completed at Harper, McKinsey, and Ramona elementary schools. Interior renovations were completed at Central Elementary. Staffing was increased to accommodate the enrichment program. Mr. Boltmeyer provided annual revenues versus expenditures. The purpose of the KEEP 39 tuition fee is to cover these overall costs, which totaled $9,951,413. The program began in 2020-2021 at Central and Harper schools and was opened at all elementary schools in 2021 and 2022. The enrollment increases annually. Currently, 92.8% of kindergarten students participate in the KEEP 39 program. It is estimated that a full payback of costs incurred will be achieved in the late 2030s. Members discussed options for a full-day kindergarten program, having an annual review of the enrichment program to review options, and administration requested a minimum of 18 months to implement any new full-day kindergarten program. And that was it.
Great, thank you. Strategy Committee, Mrs. Schneider-Faves.
So we also met during the Committee of the Whole meeting on February 13th. Mr. Diamante and Principal Kelly Jackson reported on the many parent education events that facilitate social, emotional, and academic growth and progress. You can find an archive of events and videos posted on the D39 website, which allow parents to watch at their convenience. You can also find out about future events on the website and via emails that are sent to D39 parents. That's it.
Great, thank you very much for those updates. We'll move to liaison reports, starting with Community Review Committee. Mrs. Kim.
Yes, I went to the meeting on February 7th, and as you will recall, The focus this year for the CRC is neurodiversity in our student body. And it was really great to represent the board and see how their work was progressing and how hard the committee was working to compile data for their report this year.
Great. Thank you for going and for that update. Educational Foundation, Mr. Schneider-Fabes.
So the meeting was on February 15th here at the MEC. It started with a great update from the PE teachers at Central School about the use of the rail yard. The videos were priceless. Kids really love it. We talked about events in February, both which were a success. The paddle event and bingo both raised over $4,000 to support teachers' wishes in D39. Future activities also look to be fun. There's a movie night on the 14th with the new Mario Brothers movie. There's Beers and Cheers, which I've never been to, but it sounds like I should go. Sounds really fun. On the 28th, a note to all teachers, GRIP grants. The foundation is accepting applications now. There's a March 3rd deadline, and at the foundation meeting on the 15th, they will be voting. So, you know, we need to get the word out. I think it's just a really great opportunity for teachers to put in for things like the rail yard. On March 9th, they're gonna have a screen printer assembly for 8th graders. On the 22nd, the screen printer is gonna visit all 8th grade art classes. And then they're also gonna have STEM in the real world assembly in the spring for the entire junior high. So lots of activities to report.
Great. Love hearing that. Thank you. We have any updates for the Wilmette Village Intergovernmental Cooperative Working Group? No. I know we have a topic on our agenda.
We do.
A little bit later. Okay, Mrs. Kim, anything from IASB?
Yes. So the IASB update. There will be a North Cook Division meeting on Wednesday, March 15th in Wheeling in the evening, where there will be a discussion on schools as the cornerstone of community. If you're interested in going, good luck, have fun. I can't make it that night. Also, I just wanted to let you know, if you didn't know already, that on the IASB website, there's a new publication called New School Laws that has a summary of all of the state laws enacted by the General Assembly in 2022 that impact Illinois public schools. So it's sort of a nice resource for us. And there were 64 new laws pertaining to public education, so there's a lot there. But that's it.
Okay, great. And anything legislatively?
There's not much to report, quite frankly, but there are 3 Senate bills that passed out of committee, which is just sort of the early stages of a bill that would make changes to teacher contractual service. And there was also a House bill that passed out of committee intended to alleviate the teacher shortage that would extend this provision that they have that would allow retired teachers to teach up to 120 days without impacting their retirement status from 2023 to 2026. So, but that's it.
Okay, thanks so much. I'll turn it to Dr. Cremascoli for information items.
Under written communication, the board received written communication from Beth Drucker, who wrote to share the recording of the Sustainable Schools program held on January 10th and to share information about free energy assessment open to all Illinois schools as part of the Clean Energy Jobs Act. I think President Paling, you said you also attended that, so thank you for representing the board. And Corey Lester wrote to request a conversation about the financial and strategy plans for the Keep 39 program. Under administrative announcements, we are in the heart of our school registration timeframe right now. Registration remains open for the upcoming school year. For returning students, please visit the parent portal on PowerSchool.
And for new students, most importantly, we need our new students to register so that we know about you and can plan for you within our sections for school. So especially for our incoming kindergarten students, we ask all parents to complete registration by March 1st in order to guarantee a spot in our Keep 39 program. We did hold Institute Day. Our faculty and staff engaged in a wonderful day of learning and collaboration on Tuesday, February 21st. Thank you to everyone who had a hand in helping to organize and plan and present during that day. The day included several mandatory sessions for our teachers that were focused on instructional practices in math and in reading. Staff were also provided myriad options of breakout sessions, which were really popular. We had quite a lot of positive feedback. They included a focus on instructional practices in and strategies for social emotional learning, executive functioning, English language arts, math, writing, and goal setting with students, among a variety of other topics too. It was really a great day, and staff, again, provided some really valuable feedback. We did some gathering at lunchtime, a little bit of trivia fun over our sandwiches, and Harper School won that competition. Congratulations to Harper, and took home the big trophy that day. So it was a fun activity, and thanks to everyone who participated there. Conference sign up is coming up. Our elementary school parent-teacher conferences will be held March 23rd and 24th, which is Thursday and Friday. Parents of elementary school students will receive an email on Friday, March 3rd with instructions for scheduling, and that registration will open on Monday, March 6th. We will be doing video conferencing this year, and there's an option too, if a parent prefers to come in person, they can make a request to have the conference in person. Again, this is for our elementary school spring parent-teacher conferences. We have some good news regarding the National Blue Ribbon Awards. Ramona Elementary School has been nominated by Illinois to join the esteemed community of National Blue Ribbon Schools. You might recall Ramona has received this award once before, at least once before that I'm aware of. The National Blue Ribbon Schools are public and non-public elementary, middle, and high schools that are producing outstanding results for all students. We're really proud that Ramona has been nominated. The next steps are a very thorough application and review of data and a whole lot of work by the team at Ramona. We're hoping that they're willing to take this on, but we're really proud that Ramona was nominated as an exemplary, high-performing school here in Illinois, one of only 16 who could even be awarded this award. So we're really proud of them. We're holding our breath because the announcement won't actually be made officially until I think September, when schools are officially notified of their award and this recognition. So congratulations on the nomination, Ramona Elementary School. We also have later on this evening's agenda that intergovernmental agreement that we've spent some time talking about as a board. This is an agreement between a variety of governmental entities here in Wilmette. And later on this evening's agenda, the board will be presented with a recommended action to approve the IGA with the Village of Wilmette for the Shared Sustainability Coordinator. I had the pleasure of meeting her today, and she seems really fantastic. Katie Lee also had the chance to meet and spend some time with her. We're eager to get going with our work in collaboration. The proposed IGA between the Village of Wilmette, the Wilmette Park District, the Public Library District, the Township of New Trier, and Wilmette Public Schools District 39 serves to codify the cooperative commitment of the participating governmental entities toward sustainability initiatives throughout the village. So the IGA, as you see presented on this evening's agenda, details the shared resources of a sustainability coordinator and the work that each governmental entity expects to advance as part of this partnership. Happy to answer any questions on that before we move forward, because I know that's later on the agenda. Although I know we've spent a lot of time talking about it and reviewing, as have our attorneys. So thank you for your support of that partnership. Under Freedom of Information Act, the district received FOIA requests from the following. Sherry Reed of Smart Procure, which is a commercial FOIA, requested They requested any and all purchasing records from August 25th, 2022 to present. Nathan Mahilick of Illinois Retired Teacher Association requested the names and emails of certified staff retiring this year. And Caroline Sales of Bausch and Michaels Law LLC requested the executive summary report and other reports prepared by Atlantic Research Partners from February 28th, 2020 to January 13th, 2022. And that concludes our reports. I'm happy to answer any questions from anyone on any of them. Okay, then we're excited to move on to strategy with our mid-year updates. Okay, I think that Katie Lee is sharing her screen, and we have our goal champions here to present and provide the board with an update. We're really pleased that our district strategic advisory team had the opportunity to review our progress thus far and give us some suggestions and feedback on what we've been able to accomplish thus far. This is really just a mid-year check-in, and then we'll look forward to the end-of-year update later on in the school year. Katie.
Great. Good evening. Tonight's presentation will focus on the mid-year updates and how we are progressing in terms of our key performance indicators. As Dr. Kramascoli has already mentioned, on February 16th, the District Strategic Advisory Team met and was presented this mid-year update, and we met primarily in goal groups to gather feedback focused on these three guiding questions. So are there any general or specific reflections on mid-year progress toward the 2021-2026 KPIs in your goal area? Based on progress thus far in your goal area, are there any action steps that you believe may need additional attention, evaluation, and or revision? And based on the KPI progress thus far in your goal area, please provide suggestions and future action steps. For example, what action steps should the district consider for the 2023-2024 school year? This team is very important in our reflective process and cycle and in determining how we move forward with action steps. So some feedback will be incorporated as the goal champions speak tonight into their presentations, but all of the feedback will be reviewed at the end of the year in order to reflect on current action steps as well as developing next year's action steps. So let's begin with mid-year update on Goal 1, Student Achievement and Growth. These are the key performance indicators for this goal in our 5-year strategic plan. The DSAP members assisted in determining these measures as we built the strategic plan together.
Okay, so the next 4 slides show our student performance on measures of early literacy and early numeracy. This slide shows the longitudinal performance on winter benchmarking of our kindergarten and first grade students on the individual subtests that make up the early literacy measure. You can see that this winter, more of our kindergarten students were on track in the areas of letter naming fluency and letter word sound fluency than in the past, so we're very encouraged by that. This next slide demonstrates the performance on the early literacy composite, which is one of our KPI measurements. As you can see, slightly less than 80% of our students are on track as measured by the AIMSweb Plus measures of early literacy. Our KPI goal for this area is that 80% of our students will be on track, which is average or above in the spring benchmark. So again, we're pretty encouraged by the performance that we're seeing so far this year. The next slide looks at the longitudinal performance on the winter benchmarking for our kindergarten and first grade students on the individual subtests of the early numeracy measures. Again, you can see that this winter our students are overall performing quite well. The final slide demonstrates the performance on early numeracy, which is the KPI measurement. As you can see at this time, 86% of our students are on track based on their early numeracy benchmarking. Our goal for the spring KPI is to have at least 85% of our students on track, so performing average or above in the spring benchmark. So right now we're in pretty good shape.
One thing that we wanted to mention is in our section, we provided past years for context. Even though our district strategic plan starts in the 21-22 However, we felt that it was important to show some of the patterns that were happening prior to this new strategic plan, and so we present all of that to you. That is true for Amesville Plus and also what I'm about to share. So this slide shares grades 2nd through 8 aggregated winter achievement data by year. Although this strategic plan began in 21-22, we thought it'd be helpful for those prior years to be presented. And please keep in mind that each year represents different classes of students. So for NWA MAP reading achievement, the KPIs are by spring, 4% or less of our students would fall in the low category based on quintiles. And currently we're at 5%. By spring, 50%, or more of our students would fall in the high category. Currently we're at 46%. For NWA MAP mathematics achievement, the KPIs are by spring, 4% or less of our students would fall in the low category. Currently we're at 3%. By spring, 55% or more of our students would fall in the high category. Currently at 48%. This slide focuses on this school year's winter benchmarking data and provides for you the quintile breakdowns by grade level. And unlike the last slide, this one represents our currently enrolled students. So we thought that would be of interest to you. This slide shares grades 2 through 8 aggregated fall to winter growth data by year. Again, we're giving you context in the previous years. Let me try this again. I think this is here we go. All right, we're showing you what previous year's growth was fall to winter for context, and keeping in mind that these students are each year represents different groups of students. For NWA MAP reading growth, the KPIs are by spring, 15% or less of our students would fall in the low category, and currently we're at 24%. By spring, 25% or more of our students would fall in the high category. Currently we're at 21%. For NWA MAP mathematics growth, the KPIs are by spring, 15% or less of our students would fall in the low category, currently at 26%. And by spring, 30% or more of our students would fall in the high category, and currently we're at 22%. Now this slide focuses on the school year's winter benchmarking data and provides you the quintile breakdowns by grade level. Another area was goal setting. Since the fall, we focused our attention on preparing our staff and our teachers. I think this is one area that we are learning about. When we first established our KPI for this particular goal, we did focus on students, but since our focus or our encouragement is to have our teachers engage students in the goal setting, our teachers are always goal setting with our students. They know where they start and they have goals to move them forward. But I think the best practice that we're trying to include is engaging the students in that process, and we are learning that that is our area for year one in providing professional development, providing training, providing examples. We had a wide range of teachers who were experienced with this style, and so we really wanted to focus our attention there. So what you see on this slide is, with that intent and purpose, the baseline information, as well as some examples of how the teachers who have done goal setting with their students, how they found it effective, or how the students were responding to this exercise. And so we take feedback. How are we going to help? How do we focus our attention on our training and professional development? And what are the challenges of goal setting? We want to take away some of those barriers that the teachers are sharing with us. And one seems to be time. Trying to provide examples for teachers within a set period of a class. How do we manage that time so that we could do goal setting that engages students in a really meaningful way? it does take away from what the lesson of the day is going to be, but we know that with classroom management that could be done. But I think our teachers just really need some examples of how to do that and how to tackle that. So that, and also training, and then the not applicable came from the teachers that felt pretty confident in working through goal setting. Another area is we wanted to focus our attention on making our professional learning opportunities and trainings differentiated and focused on the needs of the teacher's role. And so at the top, you'll see an overall rating or average rating for our institute days. We have 2 so far within first semester, so at the beginning of the year and then a September Fall Institute Day. And then we broke down each of those by categories of our staff so that we could learn which group we need to target or which we need to pay closer attention to. And then at the bottom, you'll see our in-house professional development, Academy 39 structure, where our staff are the teachers of their peers. And so they provide proposals for these classes. And then we ask them to also rate how well those were differentiated and focused for them. So our goal is at least a 4.5 rating. And so far, we're trending upward in meeting those goals. We're excited to share with you our results for the second semester. Thanks.
All right, I'm going to kick off the second goal, the supportive community goal. We have several outcome indicators and strategy indicators that we'll be sharing information on this evening. Katie, can you move this slide forward? Sorry. And then for tonight's presentation, we're going to just focus on the top 3 student social emotional competency development, baseline data, behavior and common areas around the school, and we'll talk a little bit about the 5 essentials data and where we are right now. And then we'll also talk about our strategy indicators that have to do with staff confidence and ability to implement social emotional learning. Go back one, please. That's all right. Our goal for the year is to just gather baseline data from a strengths-based social emotional measure. As you will recall, we presented this earlier in the year. This is from the DESA, or the Devereaux Student Strengths Assessment. This is a teacher-administered survey. And our goal, based on what we see in the spring, will be to hopefully move students from the need category into the typical and enlarge the strength category. All right. The next 2 slides are from the Cell Web, which is a new assessment that we did this year. And this is the Cell Web EE, which is early elementary, which is for kindergarten through 3rd grade. This is an assessment or a survey that the students take themselves. It's not really a survey. They answer questions. It's narrated for them, so it might be a picture of somebody's face, and they decide whether that person is happy, angry, sad, or what have you. So you see here that there's an overall on the left, and then there are the individual breakdowns of the different competency areas. Again, this is baseline data. This is the first time we ever took this assessment. And so we will be taking it again in May and then looking at what we've seen over a typical year and then set some goals based on that. And then this is for 4th grade. It's the LE, which is later elementary. The next slides are from our 5th through 8th grade measure, which is, again, it's a student take-in survey. It's called the MESH, which stands for Mindsets, Essential Skills, and Habits. The way that it reports out is 5th grade is separate from 6th through 8th grade. So you'll see a couple different slides here. And there's 2 different measures that our students complete. The first one is the student competency measures. So these are the results for 5th grade. And you can see throughout these competencies, we are basically in the 80th to 90th percentile nationally overall, and we'll take a look at the May assessment to set some goals based on the growth over the year. The next one is 6th through 8th grade. And again, it's a very similar pattern there, and we will be looking at our May results based on that. If you look at the next slide, it's our student supports and environment portion of the mesh. This is where we have taken a lot more time and really looked at more deeply into different categories. Sense of belonging is actually the one category that we have highlighted over time. In 5th grade, you'll see they're at a higher percentile, but at 6th through 8th grade, it is lower. Our overall is set at 80%. Positive responses for a sense of belonging. And you can see right now at 5th grade, we are at 75%. It does go down at the lower age levels. And then we will also be diving into more deeply, both at 5th grade and at 6th through 8th, into the school climate and the valuing of school. If Katie, you're on the next slide already, you're good. Yeah, so if you look at the 6th through 8th grade, you can see that valuing of school is lower, school climate is lower, and then sense of belonging again is lower. So, and that's where we want to really work and raise, and we've been doing some targeted instruction in those areas.
The next area we're going to talk about is behavior in common areas around schools. This is one of our indicators for SEL and behavior. We have been working with foundations from safe and civil schools in order to develop foundations behavior teams at each of our buildings that are really addressing the needs of our students and staff in developing a community and a climate that is really conducive to positive behavior. We've had a number of days of training so far this year with our foundations trainer, and we've had really overwhelmingly positive responses from our staff who have participated in those trainings. We are working right now on identifying a common area for each building to focus their attention on. They've done staff perception data. Some schools are still looking at getting student data. They're going to be doing observations then and collecting additional baseline information about those common areas and what the behaviors look like, and then setting up interventions and continuing to collect data. We have more days of training scheduled with our trainer from Safe and Civil Schools in the Foundations team. And again, our teams are really excited and very, very invested in this process. So I'm really excited about where we're going with this.
As I mentioned before, we do have some KPIs that are based on the 5 essential supportive environment data from students. They are currently taking that survey right now. The window is open through March 31st, so we're gathering the data, and then after the results are shared in May, we will use that to set some goals for the future. At the start of the year, we gave a survey to staff regarding their ability and confidence with teaching SEL in their classrooms. The strategy indicator that we are using for this information states that we will gather baseline data for implementation based on staff ability and staff confidence to teach social emotional learning skills. This first was a pre-test or a pre-survey, and we will administer a later survey after all of our professional development that Katie highlighted earlier around SEL, and look for those to raise and then set some goals based on that. So this is the staff ability graph. It's about 47% who feel quite or extremely prepared. And then on the next slide is the staff confidence when teaching SEL. They're a little bit more confident when teaching, about 56%, but we're still at about half in each area that we need to do some work on. Finally, we have expanded our club opportunities across the 5-8 campus, and we will gather baseline participation data at the end of the year after these clubs have been added. We also want to add some additional information about which students or which clubs were student elected clubs or student-developed clubs versus teacher-developed clubs, and look at participation data based on that as well.
Right, goal 3, professional community. This goal centers around our staff and faculty and how we're working together as an organization. You can see the key performance indicators for goal 3 listed here. We'll talk through each of them in more detail on the upcoming slides. They haven't changed since they were agreed upon as part of the DSAT committee's original work. We wanted to look at teacher retention, and this information is actually reported on our school report card, so it's easy to gather and compare across other schools. For the 2021 school year to the 21-22 school year, you'll see a bit of a drop in the retention rate for teachers. Part of the DSAT committee conversation was to look at staff retention, so beyond just our teachers, to look at our support staff and how we're doing in terms of retention with those staff members. And you can see that there was also a decline of about 8% from the 2021 school year to the 21-22 school year. While we're monitoring this data, we wanted to be able to start hopefully helping and taking action with regard to retention. And so last year in December, we established a process by which we would offer either exit interviews or an online survey, depending on how staff felt in terms of sharing information about District 39. Our goal was to try and learn, why are people leaving us and what could we potentially do differently to help have that not happen. You can see that family personal reasons right now is the leading reason for why staff are leaving District 39, but there's a fair percentage who are going to other school districts doing the same thing, and that for me is where I want to kind of hone in on what is causing them to leave us and not just go do different work or perhaps leave the state for family reasons. So hopefully more significant trends will come as we continue to collect that information, but this is what we know now. We then said that we would look at 5 essential data information, and specifically the information that we collect from our staff. So 5 essential data takes information from students, staff, and families. The DSAT committee decided to use the 5 essential data as part of our measurement for goal 3, specifically looking at the categories of effective leaders, collaborative teachers, and involved families. And this again is reported by staff. So you can see where we fell in 21 versus 22. Our KPI talked about the category or the label that would be used for the reporting measures, and of course those labels changed from the 21 to the 22 school year. So in an effort to be able to try and compare kind of where we were at versus where we're going, I included the numbers of in terms of the responses. It's not based on a 100-point scale. Additionally, we are looking at paraprofessionals and how often we're pulling them from their assignments. This was something that came through loud and clear in our committee work as part of the strategic planning committee, and we recognize that every time we have to pull a professional who is assigned to do a specific job to go do a different job because we don't have enough substitutes, that has an impact not only on the person that we're pulling to do different work, but a ripple effect across the school. And so this was something that we wanted to monitor this year as one of our measures. You can see we were a little bit better quarter 1 than we are quarter 2. I have a lot of ideas about that, but there's definitely more illness and more absences in quarter 2 than there was in quarter 1. We also are still not fully staffed with our paraprofessionals, so all of those are factors impacting this. So while not where we want to be necessarily, it's not something that we're giving up on. We also need to look at the absences. So this again is something that is measured on the school report card related to teacher absences, and what percentage of our staff are missing more than 10 of our work days within the school year.
You can see in 2021, we were faring better than we did in 21-22. This is not something that I can give you an update as of this year because it's more of a span over a course of time, not a point in time. And so, again, lots of kind of speculation as to why those numbers fell. We heard in our or mid-year update from the committee that we definitely are seeing more illness across the board. Again, I'm not a medical doctor, but there's lots of reasons for why I think there is truly more illness. People will tell you they are more sick, they're sick more often, and they're more intense. Their illness is more intense than in years past. The other element that I wanted to talk about is that a lot of the work that's being done in goals 1, 2, and 4, and 5 impact goal 3. So the support, the extra assistance our teachers are asking for are coming through in the other goal areas. It's just not realized yet. So I don't know that the fruit of our labor, if you will, is actually being realized at this point. Again, not giving up on this data yet, but I think that there is more to come and more to be realized as we continue to work through the entire strategic plan. We also gave a baseline survey to staff similar to Goal 2 this fall to really look at where our staff feel they're at with cultural competency and culturally responsive teaching. And so this truly is just baseline data to give us a running start. The next slide actually talks about what our staff need. So it's an open-ended question related to cultural competency. And we asked them, how can we help you better learn about, discuss, and control issues of different races, ethnicities, or cultures? And these were some of the themes that came through: hiring more people of color, providing professional development, diversity in our curricular materials. I really thought the last one was pretty poignant. Strategies to support students who experience racism, as well as strategies for addressing students who display racial behaviors. So these are the elements that our staff are thinking about, and this is where we need to focus our attention going forward in terms of training and support.
4, family engagement. So in the items that we were addressing this year, an update is as follows. The communication plan you heard about at a meeting, that's been delivered and will be annually updated every fall. The next steps identified from key takeaways were in the plan. So we're also going to be surveying parents on their preferred communication methods every year and making sure that we're using those channels to reach our constituents. As far as increasing social media, that work is going to begin this spring, but has not started yet, but it is on tap for some training and some targeted advertising. Work has begun in redesigning the district and school websites to streamline access to information. Our hosting company, we have a signed contract with them. Project manager has been assigned. There's a handful of us internally that have met probably 4 times now in looking at the initial templates and designs. And once we get a skeleton up there, we're going to be working on the content between now and the end of the school year. So by the early summer, we will flip to the new website. As far as increasing PowerSchool parent portal access statistics for report card viewing, I don't have a specific number in there yet, as parents are still viewing the report card, but some initial data that I pulled does show that we have more page views than we did last spring, so quite a few more. Offering parent education events that meet expectations of our parents and create a library of those videos. You heard about this at the Committee of the Whole meeting. We had very low respondent rates of between 0 and 6, unfortunately, and our goal was to have 80 to 100%, or actually our goal was to have more than that, but we did find 80 to 100% of our parents strongly agreed with statements such as their expectations were met and they planned to use what they learned today. In hindsight, we probably want to, as a KPI, we probably want to look at how many attendees are there, how many views there are of the events after the fact. And one thing that's always historically been a good marker is how many parents stay with us through the course of the parent event, as well as how many have dropped off. Maybe it doesn't meet their needs. We tend to have people that stay on. So we'll take a look at that KPI for future data. And on the website, as mentioned by Lisa Schneider-Fabes, we do have a webpage that lists not only the events from this year, but actually the events from the last 3 years. As far as the 4th through 5th grade transition, Kelly Jackson's going to take this part.
All right, again, these slides will look familiar. Just reporting out again that the first slide is about the overall highly successful transition numbers from parents and students. We're at 79% for both, and our goal is 90%, expressing a highly successful transition experience. So we will keep track of that as we move on. This is student feedback on their participation in transition activities. Our goal, our KPI is set at 90% of students participating in at least one of the news transition activities for the school, and 90% as well with the hangout and orientation. That's all grouped together. We talked a lot about this at our mid-year update, at reviewing that 90% target. A couple of factors are at play. We have students answering this, which they may not remember all of the times that they have engaged, or remembered the hangout that they went to. We had various numbers for the hangout specifically. And so we were talking about maybe collecting data in another way via sign up or taking attendance at the orientation activity. And then also looking at something that's other than a survey to do that. But then also looking at our KPI and maybe setting a more realistic number than 90%, specifically because a lot of students have prior experience with HighCrest and then may not be able to attend some of these things. The same thing would hold true for the parent feedback on watching the webinars and the videos. We had 54% of parents responding that they watched at least one of the webinar videos the webinar or the videos that were prepared. We only had about 70 parents respond to our survey, so that's a very low number. And so it's hard to gauge whether that's accurate or not. Again, we have now posted our videos for this year on YouTube, so we, like Tony, can have a better count of how many people are watching those. And then also taking a look at that KPI at 90%. Perhaps adjusting that to account for parents who have, again, had that experience with HighCrest and may not need to know any more information about creative arts or lunch or what have you. Finally, we have a KPI that talks about staff feedback regarding the transition process and looking at a measurable gain in positivity. And we took some anecdotal data at the beginning of, or right after this transition process took place, had an overwhelmingly positive response to the orientation process. So we're using that feedback to make some tweaks, and we'll do it again next fall.
All right, goal 5, stewardship of resources. We have 6 different key performance indicators, and we have an update on a few of them. All right, so a few of the updates. District 39 has at least preliminarily earned financial recognition score on the fiscal year 22 financial statement audit. Even though it's preliminary, I don't see that changing at this point. Fiscal year 22 ended with the operating funds having fund balances within our designated parameters of 40 and 65 at 51.7. And then back in December, the board approved 5 construction projects for the summer of 2023, which when you look at the projects that we were looking to tackle over 5 to 7 years, I would say this is a significant step towards completing those planned projects. Most notably with classroom air conditioning being added to four schools.
Happy to answer any questions you may have. Is that it?
So the common area focus, what is that in response to?
About foundations and the behavior teams?
So that's the first thing that they start with. We will look at tier 1 behavior in the schools, and the very first thing they start with is looking at the common areas. So that would be things like the hallway, recess. The goal is to really develop a consistent and common language and set of behavioral expectations for each individual building, and to train all of the staff. So we look at sort of those big ticket areas where we see a lot of behavioral challenges, less structured times like recess. And the staff works together to sort of develop what are our behavioral expectations, how are we going to teach students, and how are we going to make sure that we are providing a positive experience for students around that. And they move from that gradually into other common areas and then looking at individual classroom settings.
You have a comment? Yeah, thank you. Really very comprehensive report. And I think, I really appreciate the context that you guys put in. I think that's important. And the transparency is really good. I think this is a fantastic exercise, and it looks like, it's a strategic plan well underway from my perspective. Not everything is, the goals were not easy, right, to meet. So it's going to take some more effort and time, and I think that's great. Thank you.
Frank and then Ian.
Thank you again. Obviously, there's a lot of information here. I had a couple of drill-down questions on goal 1. So in particular on the growth. Could you get to that slide, Nika?
Oh, sure.
So I know that this is a mid-year assessment, but the actual versus the goal numbers, especially in the low category, are noticeably different, and also noticeably higher number in the low category than in the pre-COVID era. So what do you think is causing that? What do you think, will there be a significant improvement in that between now and the end of the year? And what do you think we'll be able to do to achieve that?
Thank you. I want to first maybe take a moment to explain this graph as well, because this is our quintiles that we established with our DSAT teams. And it's measuring growth and the percentile of that growth. So for example, let me use the reading growth at 21% being in the highest quintile. That would be a student who would fall under a low achievement, could have a growth that falls in a really high percentile. And so that is part of the explanation of that data. We've actually been digging in. I've been working my team to the bone in looking at this. So we have taken all of the percentile growths or the actual growth and looked to see which category of students, when in terms of achievement, where do they fall? So right now I just have a preliminary look at a couple of grades, and I can tell you that in almost every range of quintile 4 achievement, we have about 50 or more students that are of the high growth area, but the population that it shows significantly less growth would be in the high achievement. and high achievement in what we are calling high achievement, which is the top quintile, not just the 50% of our students that fall under or higher than the 50th percentile. So what are we doing? We are really digging into the data more to learn about the student population we need to support. After that, we need to look at how are we supporting the growth? What type of instruction are we giving to that particular student group? And then really reflect on our resources or what kind of services we provide. So again, my team's only worked on a couple of grades right now, but we are digging into all of them, and I'll be able to share more of a follow-up at a later time.
And I'll add to that. I think as I've been able to visit many of our MTSS teams at our schools, I know that our teacher teams are taking some time to look at these data a little bit differently and through the new MTSS structures to really examine who is growing and who isn't yet growing, and setting some instructional areas of focus at each grade level. I see that especially at our elementary schools where that protocol is a little more advanced, a little further down the road into the direction that we're trying to move all of our MTSS teams. And again, keep in mind that we have a tier 1 focus at each grade level, and then we look at tier 2 and tier 3 for more of those targeted interventions. And so I think recognizing that this is a 5-year plan, we have some work to do in this area in terms of growth, especially for our higher achieving students. But I think our teachers are taking a more targeted approach to examining what's working and what's not working and how they want to adjust their instruction. So we're not there yet, but we have some processes and procedures in place now that maybe weren't as well defined previously that are allowing us to dig into this a little bit further.
So I understand, and it sounds like you're looking at the right things, but the trend line, looking at the low growth, just a good reading for a second, in the pre-COVID 17, 18, 18, 19, even 19, 20 was in the 19-20% range, and the number during COVID went up as you'd expect, but in 22, 23, it's noticeably higher than that trend line. So it's not, at least according to this data, you're still recorded the same information in those earlier years. So, I mean, it looks like it's more of a maintaining, or if there's something that was lost, as lots of things were during COVID, but it didn't get that much better yet.
Right.
So, okay. Because that's obviously, because even with the high learners, the growth number is smaller. The expected growth of the high ones is smaller, so it's so even with them, the fact that they're not making their numbers, even if that is a significant percentage of that, that's still an area that the district needs to keep working on.
Can I add one more perspective? So one of the tools or the reports that NWA provides are learning continuums, so where they state which standards the students are ready to learn, and therefore they need an opportunity to learn. So for example, we could look at an 8th grader whose profile is beyond 8th grade, so 9th grade, 10th grade, or we could even look at a 4th grader who's also ready to learn in certain areas, in certain domains, a higher grade level. And so in order for that growth to occur, that direct instruction also needs to happen. So we're looking at balancing that. How do we attend to students who are ready for more, be provided that more? So if you look at, so there's also this question of, and we've been asking NWA so much, of, you know, even when they set their growth targets, when you get higher into the high achievement percentiles, there's much less room to grow. There's some sort of, at least in their RIT scoring, a cap, if you will. I don't know how else to say that. So as you're higher in the RIT, higher in the achievement, your opportunity to grow is much less. And therefore, how do we then get our students to, grow that one RIT point that will take them to the very top? So it's a balance. I'm glad, Erin, you're smiling at me, and I appreciate that, because I think you're helping me know that whatever I'm saying is sort of hitting home of the high achievement and that range. It's just a conundrum of the capabilities of the assessment and where our students are. If I were to show you, so for example, just achievement-wise, when we have 59% of the upper quintile, so that is the 80 to the 99th percentile, we have 59% of our students already there. So I think that's the struggle for us, or the challenge for us. And we are looking into it. We are diving in to see what we can do. But I think that context is really significant when we talk about achievement versus growth on any assessment platform we provide.
Yeah, those are great things. And I think I'm coming back, though, to the pre-COVID versus COVID. The way we had most of those issues 4, 5, 6 years ago, and the numbers were better.
The growth numbers were
The
better.
growth
So
numbers
the
were better.
achievement
Right.
numbers
Right.
were-
The growth, I mean, that's what I'm,
But
so.
here's what I just wanted to point out
Okay.
about that is early on in the assessment, when we were learning the assessment, the opportunity to grow was a little more available to us and to our students because we were learning about the assessment. So what you see anytime you initiate a new assessment is this kind of growth trajectory in the first year or two of that new assessment being implemented. So the growth was stronger. Our achievement now is growing, which is also excellent. We do need to figure out how to ensure that all of our students are growing. So I don't want to dismiss that need, but I also want to acknowledge that comparing it to the first and second year of an assessment implementation is, you're kind of, that comparison isn't really a fair comparison either. In terms of growth alone, because as students and staff learn the assessment, that growth is expected to be a little more significant in the first couple of years of implementation. So it is a little wonky because we had the first couple of years of implementation, then we had the COVID years, and now we have the attempt to return to where we were before. So there's a lot of work to be done. There is no doubt. You are pointing to the area that we need to focus on.
And I guess related to that is how we set the KPIs, because when we set the KPIs, it was even lower. It was 15%, I think, was the number for the low growth. So when we set KPIs for next year, we need to figure out why those KPIs.
So remember, the KPIs are for the length of the 5-year plan. So we're not expecting that we would be able to accomplish that KPI in the first year or in the second year. After 5 years of implementing the strategies that we've identified, it is our aim, it's our goal to accomplish those KPIs. So we don't reset the KPIs every year. That is at the end of this 5-year implementation of these new approaches and strategies, we hope to reach that KPI. And so we're kind of benchmarking ourselves toward that accomplishment.
And we know it's an ambitious goal,
It is.
but we are wanting to do this. And so I think that's what's nice about a multi-year plan. It focuses our attention on the journey and to get there. So we hope to show you much progress.
Don't want to reduce that KPI. We really do want to continue to strive toward what we think is a reasonable and ambitious plan.
And I had one shorter question on the, wait a minute. The goal setting. Again, if you could bring up the slide.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay,
I keep coming out of screen share. Should just stay in there. This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know when these goals were being set, there was a lot of discussion on trying to get to the students, 100% of the students having set goals. The way that this is recorded was it still has 67% of the teachers, and which isn't exactly the same thing as number of students. But even that, it's 67 versus 100%. So is there, what is being done to move that up? Because if you take that 67% and you look at how many of them actually then set academic goals, it's even a subset of that. So to get to the 100%, we're off by quite a bit so far.
Yeah, so I remember our conversation in our breakout room for goal setting 1, and it was actually one of our parent members, right, who brought up the fact that, hey, our KPI is about 100% of our students, but you're sharing information about you're surveying teachers. So one of the constructive, feedback that we received is that the data that I'm presenting currently doesn't reflect any progress toward the 100% of students that are doing their own goal setting. And so one thing that I was trying to explain that I think I need to do a better job doing is what we've learned. We have our strategic plan, we've set these KPIs, but for goal setting, it was almost a misstep, if you will, in my part, in thinking that we are ready and prepared to measure how many students are engaged in their own goal setting on their own. Because what we've learned is, and I'm not going to try to change our KPI, but what we've learned is in order for our students to be able to set these goals, we need teachers who are feeling confident in how to engage students in that goal setting process. So for us, I think, sure, our teachers always goal set. It's almost innate that they say, hey, this student is here, we want them here. They set goals academically for their students, but it wasn't the for the students part that we wanted to focus in on, because the best practice is to engage your student in it. And so the shift of focus was an area of learning. So we had a wide range of teachers who have shared with us, hey, I've done this before. I know how to approach it with my class of 3rd graders or 7th graders or 8th graders, but there's a whole other part of our staff that we're like, we want to learn. So at every Institute Day, at every opportunity, we presented goal setting and we offered breakout sessions on there. We wanted to cater to the fact that it needs to be differentiated. There are some that would not appreciate sitting in a session like that because they feel confident in it, but we also had a group of teachers that would want to learn more about it. So I admit that what the data that I'm presenting to you is from a different lens and a different perspective than our KPI. But I do feel really strongly that this is the place we need to start before we can then turn it around and say, hey, students, how have you set an academic goal for yourself? What does that look like? Because in order for them to be engaged in that process, our teachers also need to be prepared. So we're coming along. And so what I wanted to share with you is that we have 175 responses total, 93 from kindergarten and 4th grade. I also think a lot of people are surveyed out or something, but we wish we had higher response rates. Grades 5 through 8, 82. So we have 86% of the respondents saying that yes, they have done goal setting with their students, and so we want to use that as baseline data to know, which group of teachers to target. For the goal types, one thing that was potentially something that we didn't consider is, I know it's goal 1, but sometimes our students need, their primary goal is in social emotional learning. Their primary goal might be behavior, because one thing that we know through our MTSS process work is the social emotional and the behavior, if that contributes to the academic growth. So so we did find out from our teachers, hey, what percentage were academically focused or behavior focused and social emotionally focused, and I wanted to share that. But we do have students that, in order for their academic growth to be attained, we need their social emotional competency to be honed in. So a student who sets that goal is actually contributing to their academic readiness. Some of the examples of what they found effective for the students, this feedback is really important to us because often our staff learn best from their colleague. And when a colleague down the hallway is saying, hey, I did this and this is how it worked, and so they actually get better examples of how it works with a particular group of students the best. So admittedly, Frank, this is not based on the KPI. I tried to share that at DSAT, and I'm also trying to share that now. But we do reflect on this every step of the way, and I have to say, in order for us to get to that KPI, this was our action step that we truly needed to focus in on. So that's all I'll say. Sorry.
Thank you, Ed. I think learning how to set SMART goals is a really important life skill. So if everybody needs to brush up on it, so if we can help our teachers brush up on it, and then they can get kids to start learning how to set SMART goals, that's a really important life skill. So.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the key to what you just said and what Katie was trying to explain is helping our teachers so that they can help our students. Because remember, they're not only dealing with 8th grade students who are very capable of setting their own SMART goals, but they're also working with kindergartners and 1st and 2nd graders who would need a substantial amount of support in order to get there. And so helping our teachers first is the first strategy and also the first measurement opportunity toward that long-term KPI. So I think we're in agreement and we're moving toward that. So thank you.
Sure. Just one other question. It always surprises me to see the numbers around the sense of belonging and valuing of school. And it looks like the action steps that are in place are great and very appropriate. So great to see that. I just wonder if there's any benchmarking. So for instance, is this a District 39 issue, or is this something that is more typical of students in grades 5 through 8 today? And therefore our KPI is appropriate. I mean, I think we should always be doing everything possible in this area, but it's just so surprising how low some of those numbers are.
So I don't know if we want to pull the slide up again, but it took a while for us too to understand how to look at these data. As Kelly was talking through, I think that, thank you, I think that the column on the left is showing the percent favorable, which is just a straight measurement of what our students are telling us. The compared to others nationally is what is either green or red, and it kind of shows you where we're at nationally. So that does give us some norms, I'm not familiar enough, and Kelly, I wonder if you know, when this norming data was collected?
Yeah, it was prior to the pandemic. So, and they are working on renorming it. So it may look different as a result of that. This is also the first time that we have given the valuing of school segment of this. So we don't have any kind of trend data to look at over the last few years. So it'll be important to kind of see where that goes in the spring and then kind of look at what that's targeting as we continue to develop our SEL curriculum.
The other thing that I know we've spent some time talking about is how the size of school impacts these data, and to be a participant and feel a sense of belonging to a really small school versus our 5-8 schools are pretty big schools, and kids come together and join each other in this rather large environment. And so I'm curious if there's any norming data, or maybe with this new set that comes out, that might help us to better understand where our students are falling in that regard. And I know at the 5-8 campus, some other conversations have happened about how do we make our schools feel smaller and more connected, even though the enrollment size is really quite large for 5th grade, 6th grade, by comparison to what a lot of other students experience nationwide. So we're not suggesting we should create a whole lot of really small schools, because that might impact some of the other programming that we offer. But at this point, it's something we want to attend to and figure out ways of making sure that our students do feel a sense of value and a sense of belonging, even in our rather large schools. So thank you for pointing that out and asking that question.
Yes, at one point I had a clarifying question, but it's been answered along the way. So thanks for that. So at this point, I just have 2 comments. One is that I really appreciate the perspective offered by John in his comments, and would echo that. And it's just clear to me that there's a growth mindset that permeates this entire enterprise, and I'm just grateful that you have that lens and focus. And then the other thing is, in the printed materials that we got that were attached to the board, the things that were online, the thing that jumped out to me the most, and this is continuing with what Anne was just talking about, with respect to the sense of belonging goal, was the clubs process you've gone through this year at 5-8. I just think it was so thoughtful. It's absolutely fantastic. And to see that there was high engagement really was, I think, the highlight for me of this entire thing. So yeah, middle school kids getting involved in magic stuff. I mean, you know, like it's great, right?
That sense of belonging and connection to school, even through a variety of activities. Not everyone is an athlete or a participant in band and orchestra, and so we want to make sure that kids have that sense of connection and belonging to their school.
Yeah, we just recently started a new batch of clubs based on student applications. We now have 25 clubs. This is just at Highcrest, but 25 clubs. One was magic and knitting that had to split into 2 because 45 kids showed up one day. So, so yeah, it's pretty awesome, and the kids are super jazzed about it all.
Thank you.
I have one comment, which I know you all are attending to this, and it came up a little bit anecdotally in the goal setting comment, which just is, you're doing so much, and it's all such good, important work, and that's really hard as administrators and as teachers, right, to figure out the time for all of this. So I think it was a comment about, you know, in terms of goal setting, that takes a lot of time. I know I used to work with little kids. You're doing that one-on-one. So it's just a lot of time. So I'm just recognizing and appreciating that, and knowing it's all decision-making, because when you add something in, something has to come up. So it's very impressive, all that's happening, and it's really exciting. Appreciate all the updates, and just know that's hard work.
I think you guys get a round of applause, because this is a real strategic plan and a real planning process.
I agree. Yeah. Okay. Annual business.
Sure. I lost my agenda for a
I know,
second
I
there,
am
and all
too.
the excitement and shifting between. things. Let me get back here. Yes, we have our school bonds resolution. I'll let Corey speak to that.
Yeah, so the next big step in our process to issue some bonds to fund the air conditioning projects this upcoming summer is for the board to approve a resolution later this evening. Kind of the point of the resolution is that this resolution, once passed, would provide the administration with authority to perform the bond sale, which is scheduled to occur tomorrow morning. And embedded within the resolution is the parameters or the guidelines by which the bond sale and what we're allowed to do. So I heard from Liz today that we had a lot of bidders sign up. There's not a lot of bond sales this particular week, so fingers crossed, hopefully tomorrow morning can go well. And I think we should see some results fairly close to what we had talked about a couple of weeks ago. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Move to board policy review.
Yes, we have policies recommended for second and final reading. The policies have been revised based on feedback from our first reading.
Any comments? Okay, great. Well, this is our second opportunity for public comments, but I do not see any community members here, so we can proceed with the consent agenda. Are there any items that the board would like pulled? Okay, Ms. Stone, please proceed with the motions.
I move to approve the personnel report dated February 27th, 2023. I move to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Wilmette, Wilmette Park District, Wilmette Public Library District, Township of New Trier, and Wilmette Public School District 39. I move to approve a second and final reading of Board of Education policies 5:10 equal employment opportunity and minority recruitment, 5:35 compliance with Fair Labor Standards Act, 5:40 communicable and chronic infectious diseases, 5:50 drug-free and alcohol-free workplace, e-cigarette, tobacco, and cannabis prohibition, 5:60 expenses, 5:70 religious holidays, 5:150 personnel records, 5:240 suspension, 5:260 student teachers, 7:180 prevention of and response to bullying, intimidation, and harassment. I move to approve the accounts payable for bills listed between January 24th, 2023 through February 27th, 2023 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $505,909.85. O&M Fund, $41,005.24. Debt Service, $1,500. Transportation, $170,128.91. Capital Projects, $13,800, for a total all funds of $732,344. I move to approve the manual checks issued between January 24th, 2023 and February 27th, 2023 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $757,452. O&M Fund, $116,834.51. Tort, $486.33. Transportation, $133.28. Capital Projects, $227,142.09, for a total all funds of $1,102,048.21.
May I have a second?
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Would the clerk please call the roll?
John Cesaretti,
Yes.
Ann Hart,
Yes.
Bonnie Kim,
Yes.
Frank Panzica,
Yes.
Lisa Schneider-Fabes,
Yes.
Aaron Stone,
Yes.
Amy Paley.
Yes. Okay, consent agenda is approved. I seek a motion to approve the resolution for working cash bond issuance.
I move to approve the resolution for consideration and action providing for the issue of not to exceed $11,250,000 general obligation limited tax school bonds, Series 2023, of School District Number 39, Cook County, Illinois, for the purpose of increasing the working cash fund of said school district, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, and authorizing the proposed sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Would the clerk please call the roll?
John Caesar-Ready,
Yes.
Ann Hart,
Yes?
Bonnie Kim,
Yes.
Frank Panzeca,
Yes.
Lisa Schneider-Pabes,
Yes.
Aaron Stowe,
Yes.
Amy Paling.
Yes. Motion carries. Very exciting. Okay, conference items, old business.
I had one that I think falls under old business, but recently Nutrier published some significant student absence data. And I know if we had anything near that, that it would be brought up to the board, but I just wanted to kind of, one, understand if we've seen any trends in our data, and two, given that their absence rates started fairly high even as freshmen, if there's anything we can do as, with our 8th graders to discourage that as they move on to the next school.
Thank you for bringing that up. In fact, we had several discussions regarding that data today as well, and so we're going to take a look at our data. We did, the attendance data is publicly available on the school report card, so you can see kind of how we would compare with that based on last year's data, but we'll be taking a closer look at this year's data to examine kind of where our students at now, especially as we come back from the pandemic. There is no longer an option of remote learning, and yet families and attendance rates have lingered a little bit. Somewhat maybe connected to what Heather was referring to, the absences and illness, and some related to the way in which we kind of engage with families now post-pandemic. So it's something we'll be looking at. We'd be happy to bring that data to the board at the March committee of the whole meeting. So that we can see
Yeah,
that.
I think, our school district and the age group of our kids, but 40% of the seniors were absent more than 10% of the days. It's a pretty significant number. And freshman was higher than I would have expected also, so anything we can do to help that trend would be valuable.
It's sort of interesting when we looked at the staff, like, I just wonder if it is a lot of illness. Can't explain it all, but I wonder if people are back gathering, and that's
Yeah,
a big
and
part of
there
it.
may be some components of mental health days that are taken, and there's a number of factors in the post-pandemic era that I think are impacting all of our ability to regularly attend and engage and be present physically. So I think while we are recognizing we are out of the pandemic or on the other side of the pandemic, there are some lingering effects that we all have to attend to and pay attention to. I mean, so we'd be happy to bring that data back at the March conference.
Thanks for bringing that up. Any other old business? New business? Good and welfare? Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to bring up the fact that last week I attended the Wilmette Junior High and High Crest Bandorama, which was really, really great. It was really fun to sort of see, because all 4 grades were there and they each did a couple of songs. You were able to see the difference between, the 5th grade band and the 6th grade band. And my son, who's in 6th grade, he was, like, so looking forward to this. I was like, wow, like he kept talking about it. I was like, really? Because to me, that seemed like a bit more of an obligation. But, on my part, not his. But I was pleasantly surprised when I was there. And also, every time you looked up and saw a different group of kids on that stage, and how many hours they had put into it, of going to school early and making up their classwork and, at night. It was pretty inspiring.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Anne?
I just have one quick one, and that's kudos to the Wilmette Junior High Student Council and the administration and everyone who was involved in pulling off the Valentine's quote-unquote dance. I don't know when the last time there's been a dance or
Kelly,
a social of that nature.
do you happen to know? No, it's been a long time. This is like going back way before. Yeah, so this is
So,
another student-led activity, I think, that.
And just a
Student
great
Council
opportunity that's
came up
open to the entire school, and fun to hear the kids talking about it leading up to the event and making plans to gather before the event, talking about it after. It just was really fun to see them, and you know, standing around awkward in a gym like that. It's like
It's a rite of passage.
Right. But I know from my experience, a lot of them, it was much better than expected. They had a very good time, and so I know it's a lot of work. So thank you to everyone who was involved.
You know, I want to thank the students who had the courage to show up, because that, I know that there was a lot of angst on Thursday
There
and
was.
Friday about whether
There
or
was.
not friend groups were going to
Yeah.
attend or not attend. Thanks to the staff who were courageous enough to show up too.
Absolutely.
And to the many parents who helped with that. So it was the student council's leadership, really cool.
And enjoy those cheap dances when you're here. Yeah, I am not proud to say that my son wore his gray sweatpants and an oversized hoodie.
But you know what? He showed up.
He showed up, and I
That's
saw
it.
these girls walking in cute dresses, and I just, oh my gosh, felt terrible,
Dresses and
but
Converse shoes.
it was just, you know, getting them there that was the priority.
Yep, that's right. That's right. That's great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss specific personnel negotiations and special education or individual student matters?
I move to adjourn to executive session to discuss specific personnel, negotiations, and special education / individual student matters.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion having been made and seconded, will the clerk please call the roll?
John Caesarretti,
Yes.
Ann Hart,
Yes?
Bonnie Kim,
Yes.
Frank Panzica,
Yes.
Lisa Schneider-Fabes,
Yes.
Aaron Stone,
Yes.
Amy Paley.
Yes, motion carried. We're now adjourned to executive session. Time is 8:42.